Hey guys, so I'm going to do a quick video on making ISK through running anomalies. This is a little different in that all of my other videos have been making ISK station trading, where you don't actually undock, whereas anomalies are actual combat sites. So really, if you want to make ISK running anomalies, if you want to make good ISK, you need to be doing them in Nullsec. They're very easy to find. You just open up your probe scanner and on the bottom half of the window is a system scanner, which is built into every ship. Um, the scan should run automatically as soon as you enter a system. So all you have to do is find the anomaly you want to run. So each anomaly is the different kinds of anomalies are different difficulties. So for example, hubs are a different difficulty from sanctums and so on and so forth. I'll post a little list in the description of anomalies and their difficulties, but what I'm running here in the video is a Guristas Sanctum, which is the hardest of the Guristas anomalies. It's the hardest of any anomaly. But that means it's also the best ISK per hour for me in my setup. That's a little bit of a different story if you're running a drone ship, but we'll get to that. So let me just go over my kill order real quick. So if you saw when I warped in here, the first thing I did was I took out all the cruisers. That's because Guristas cruisers really like to ECM you, and if you're jammed, you can't lock anything and you're not doing any damage, so you're better off just clearing those out first and then continuing. After killing all the cruisers, I take out the battle cruisers because those do a significant chunk of damage while also being very easy to kill. They only take about 3 or 4 volleys for me to kill, so I knock those out real quick. And then I take out the frigates so that I'm not webbed or scrammed at all, so that way if we get a red-in system, I can get out, and if I'm taking too much damage, webs aren't a problem. I mean, they can't really break my tank. I have a very solid tank on my ship, but I still like to have all of my speed available to me in case I need it. So what I'm running here is a Tengu, which is it's a great PvE ship. It's really very solid choice for anything you're doing, any type of space, because you can fit any kind of tank to it and you can fit any kind of damage to it. Here I'm using Scourge Rage missiles with Tech 2 heavy assault missile launchers, which gives me a range of about 33 kilometers with my skills. Which is, I mean, sometimes the rats will spawn out of range, but I go over half a kilometer a second with my afterburner on, so closing distance isn't much of a problem. And I have a kinetic thermal tank fit because I'm fighting Guristas rats, and each NPC corporation of rats has different damage that they do and different weaknesses in their tanks, and I'll post a list of those in the description too. But Guristas do kinetic damage, and they're weakest to kinetic damage followed by thermal damage. Each corporation does one type of damage and is weak to two, a primary and a secondary type. So for Guristas, kinetic is the primary type, thermal is the secondary type, so I'm doing kinetic and I'm tanking kinetic thermal. When you're choosing a ship to run anomalies in, I said I was using a Tengu. A lot of the T3s are very good at ratting in nullsec, especially if you're ratting in hostile space, because you can fit a cloak and an interdiction nullifier on them. So you'll do pretty well for yourself if you run into a gate camp or something. Some other ships you might want to consider are marauders, like the Golem, which are also very effective ships. They do pretty good damage, fit correctly, so you'll clear the rats out quickly, and you can also loot and salvage as you're going along to make a little extra chunk of change. Faction ships are also very useful. I know a few people who run Vindicators, and reportedly they make over 100 million ISK an hour. I make about 60 million ISK an hour. Ratting in my Tango a little less, like between 50 and 60, depending on how much attention I'm paying. And also you can run drone ships, like the Ishtar is very popular, as is the Dominix. And those are popular because you can do pretty great damage with sentries, but you can also for a very large part of each anomaly, you can pretty much AFK it, as long as you're paying a little bit of attention so that you can recall your drones and put them back out when a new wave spawns in case they target your drones. But basically, if you're running a drone ship, it's totally safe to say if you have 2 monitors, put Eve on one monitor with a drone ship doing anomalies and do a fleet or a mission or whatever else you do on the other monitor, and still, make a good bit of change on the side. If you're in a fleet for 3 hours and you've got your Ishtar ratting Anomalies on the other screen, you could have just made 150 million ISK barely paying attention. Another choice that I don't want to say popular, but a lot of people do it is ratting in a carrier. Your alliance might hate you. You should check on their policies for that. They really dislike seeing carriers on kill boards that were lost while ratting, so that's something you should definitely take very great care to avoid. If you're ratting in a carrier, you kind of have to be very vigilant, paying attention local and everything, because they do warp very slowly, and if you get caught, you'll probably get hot dropped and lose it. And with a carrier, you're paying billions of ISK for this ship. You don't really want to lose it like that. But you stand to make pretty great ISK ratting in a carrier, especially considering the increased damage of fighters and the ridiculous tank on it, meaning that you can go do escalations in it as well. So escalations are sometimes when you're running anomalies, you'll get a little pop-up that says you've intercepted a signal or something, and it'll give you a bookmark in your journal. That bookmark is called an escalation, and so those are they vary in difficulty and they vary in loot, but if you are lucky, and if you're running the harder anomalies like I do, I've only got like 2 escalations that I can think of, and I believe both of them were the Maze, which is a 10 out of 10 DED complex. That means it's very hard. It's often run with a capital ship, but the loot is also pretty good. You can get over 1 billion ISK from completing the Maze. You can solo it in a smaller ship. I know there are videos on YouTube of people soloing it in Tengus. I've never tried. I am not that brave of a person. I like to err on the safe side, and it's never treated me poorly so far. But if you can't run it / don't feel like it, ask in your alliance. You might have someone who will run escalations for you without your help at all. Just give them the bookmark, they'll do it for you, and they'll split the loot with you. And I mean, that's better than just leaving it to expire and never not getting anything out of it. So like I was saying, NPC types, the type of pirates you're facing, they vary by region. I'll post a link in the description to a list of NPCs by region, but just make sure, if you're ratting in whatever region you're ratting in, that you just have the proper tank for the rats you're facing, so that, if you're running, if I took my Tengu into Sancha space and I started trying to kill Sanchas, there's a great possibility that I would die, because Sanchas do heavy EM damage, and my EM resist on my shield is 0 because I don't have an EM tank at all, because I'm not facing any rats that do EM damage. So make sure you've got the right tank and also the right damage. If I went to Sancha space, I'd have a very hard time killing them, because again, I'm doing kinetic damage and they're weak to EM. And also make sure to remember ammo. I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually ran out of ammo in this anomaly run because I forgot to check how much I had. So I got very close to the end, but I ended up running out of ammo, so who knows, I might have missed out on an escalation. It's unlikely, but them's the breaks. So make sure you've got everything in your cargo before you take off. So quick recap, pick the right type of ship, damage, and tank for the rats you're facing, and just open up your system scanner and pick your favorite anomaly. Don't pick one that's a difficulty higher than you can do, but honestly none of them are particularly difficult if you have a T3 Marauder faction or a faction ship. If you're running like a Drake or something, it might not be a good idea to do Sanctums, but they will work with, I believe up to hubs can be done with a Drake. And just, watch local, watch intel channels, make sure you don't get hot dropped, and enjoy your ISK. Like I said, you can make between 50 to over 100 million ISK an hour with this method, depending on what kind of ship you're running, depending on your skills. So it's nothing to scoff at, especially with how relatively easy it is. It really doesn't require much raw skill from you as a pilot, as long as you have enough skill points to pull it off. So there you have the basics. If you guys think of any other videos you'd like to see made, leave me a comment. And thanks for watching, and fly safe.